Welcome to the Noble Ape podcast, Ape Reality. I'm Tom Barbalet, and this evening, an extra special treat. I promised Pedro, but luckily enough, Mridul P was online at the same time as Pedro, and I thought, well, why not make it a round-table discussion? I need to note before the recording begins that we talked for about 35 minutes on recording, but through editing down, one of the tracks was edited short and various other things happened, so the discussion does cut short a little bit. I have heard other podcasts where this happens, and I've always wondered what kind of idiot would need to do something like this in order to cut down a perfectly reasonable discussion. Unfortunately, this happened with this audio recording. However, both of them were able to speak, and both of them were able to answer questions and also ask me questions. So I think this is a valuable opportunity. Both of them had a lot of fun as well, as I did too. It was great, actually. I'd never spoken to Pedro previously in real time. We typed to each other occasionally, but never actually spoken to him. And Mridul and I have talked on the phone a few times, but now he's at Iowa State. I think we'll need to get him to Las Vegas so we can do a podcast on location with the both of us. Anyway, it was great fun, and we've promised each other that we will do another podcast, probably longer and actually about well-defined topics, but I thought you would enjoy this nonetheless. So I have with me Pedro and Mridul, who have both contributed amazing things to the Noble Ape development. As I've spoken to Mridul on a number of previous occasions, I'd like to introduce Pedro. Pedro, can you give some background to your interest in Noble Ape development and what you've done so far with Noble Ape?
Okay. So I got in contact with Noble Ape maybe a year ago when I was searching for a project in the area of artificial intelligence and artificial life in SourceForge, I believe. So there was an announcement that Noble Ape was needing a programmer, a C programmer. So I contacted you, as you might remember, and I got in, basically. So since then I've been kind of maintaining the Linux port that was started by Mridul P some time ago, and then I've ported the previous version that was built on Motif to GTK. Since then I've been updating the GTK source according to the changes that are made in the simulation core, if we may say that way. So I believe that's it.
Terrific. Now, what do you want to be doing in the near future with Noble Ape?
Well, I believe that Noble Ape should expand from the small simulation, the entertainment simulation that currently is. It's okay. It's a funny thing with small red dots walking around the landscapes, and there's many science in there, but still, I believe that for the common user, that science is not so noticeable as it should. So I believe that Noble Ape should evolve more in terms of artificial intelligence, in terms of intelligent agents, and should provide to the user more capabilities so that he could develop new behaviors for the apes, maybe develop new worlds, and in the extreme case, the meta simulation you talked about some podcasts ago. So I believe it's a path of generalization, of getting away from that specific hard-coded simulation and building something more general.
In my recent thinking with regards to this, it has come back to ApeScript particularly, in terms of the event structure, in terms of how this needs to be both thread safe but also memory intelligent. I had shot out some ideas through the developer mailing list with regards to possibly a kind of shorthand version of that, where events were sent off and organised based on the number of processes, number of threads, these kind of things. However, my new thinking is that ApeScript actually provides a greater degree of power, and if this can be integrated some way in the new event model, I think it would be quite a bit more powerful, and in fact remove the simulation core, remove a lot of the existing hard-coded stuff that exists in the simulation core, and replace it purely with ApeScript. So this is my current thinking. Now, Mridul, I'd like to bring you in here, and you currently are starting a master's program. I've referred to it in previous podcasts. Do you have any thinking about what you'd like to do with Noble Ape through your master's study?
Right now, the idea is I want to look at Noble Ape further because I'm taking AI as a part of my master's project, and I want to look at Noble Ape as a way in which to do my thesis on. So I'm still looking for ideas on what to do my thesis on, and I want to implement it using Noble Ape.
I'm writing this chapter for the book currently, and I'm interested. Both of you have been very successful in terms of getting in contact with me and then maintaining a general interest, and you both have shown through what you've said so far that there are shortcomings in the Noble Ape development, but you've still maintained an interest. If we can start with Mridul and then go to Pedro, can you give some discussion to this and what has motivated you to continue to keep interested in Noble Ape?
The creator of Noble Ape. I find whatever you've done in the past and your experiences and how you're living your life pretty fascinating, actually, to tell the truth. I still don't know how you managed to have a full-fledged job and maintain a family and do Noble Ape and pull out releases also frequently. I still don't know how you do it. When do you sleep?
This is a very good question. The initial development of Noble Ape came with very little sleep, and in background to this, I think Noble Ape is like a screensaver for me. It's like a mental screensaver. So whenever I have free time, whenever I'm not doing anything normally, I will be thinking about the latest problem in Noble Ape. And that's really the secret to it. There's nothing particularly profound. It's just there are a set of problems that present themselves at any given time with Noble Ape that take my time. And when I have more time to do it, I invest more time in it. When I don't have enough time, I sneak. I mean, you need to appreciate, aside from working full-time, I also consult, which takes between an hour and 3.5 hours out of my evenings. And this is the first weekend where I haven't actually worked over the weekend for quite a number of weekends. So I'm always busy in some regard, and Noble Ape is just a component of that busyness. But it's something that I enjoy. It's something that is very calming for me. It's a reflective hobby, and it's something that I constantly feel challenged by in some regard. But no, that's a very good question. Anyway, Pedro, you were going to answer the same question Mridul answered.
What was the question again?
The question was, aside from your initial contact, what has motivated you in keeping interested in the development of Noble Ape?
Keeping in contact with you and talking about Noble Ape and other stuff, philosophical stuff, political stuff, GCC discussions, and all that kind of chat kept me in a certain way connected to you and to Noble Ape. So, and as I said many times, I admire your dedication to the project, and like Mridul said, that capacity that you have of finding time in your personal life to maintain an open source project. So, and I'd like to ask you a question, by the way. How do you keep your interest on Noble Ape?
Certainly. Well, some background on how Noble Ape started. I originally started Noble Ape with the view that I would have a lot of people contributing into it, and it would be this exciting, intellectually vibrant thing with, lots of academics and people communicating. And the initial development of Noble Ape did have seeds of that idea, but I learned probably within the first couple of months that it was really just going to be based on my own strength in producing the project, but also giving it a drive and direction. And for a number of years it was just me doing it solo in some regard, although there were a lot of people that were interested in the various technologies that came out of Noble Ape. But pretty soon after starting Noble Ape, I also got very, very sick, and I was bedridden and only awake for about 4 hours a day for a period of about 3 months. And this time made me focus that if I was going to do anything in my life, you need to appreciate that people weren't bringing me food. I was really very isolated for this period of time. And I reflected that if I was going to do anything with my life, it needed to be a focus of all these kind of scattered bits of programming I'd done in the past with some kind of solid philosophical agenda, which I have tried to carry through with Noble Ape. And my feeling has always been that the seed idea of Noble Ape is still something which is a critical question that needs to be answered. I think, as Mridul has talked about, the ideas of artificial intelligence are open. They're something that can be thought about in terms of what is to be done as opposed to where we are currently. So there are many possible options there. My thinking also is that if I'm going to do anything that is recognised, I would like it to be on what Noble Ape is about. It's something I feel very passionately about. I think the various components of ecology and these kind of things that have come into Noble Ape are all things that I feel passionately about. So what would you both like to see come out of Noble Ape in the next 6 months? Starting with Pedro.
As I said, I'd like to see a more sophisticated simulation, maybe removing the hard-coded part and coding it in ApeScript. So I'd like to see some more documentation too, because I believe the project should be a bit more documented in terms of internal behavior and mathematics, and also in terms of source code. Some additional commentaries would be cool.
Do you think these need to be written commentaries, or do you think it could be something that I could do podcasts on the various sections of the source code?
Well, that depends on the use you want to give to the commentaries. So for guys like us that probably will put their hands on the code and will need to change code and understand how things work. Maybe it's better if the comments are written there and you
certainly
you can consult them just online. But for a global understanding of the simulation, and for the public that wants to know more about the simulation and more about its internals, I believe that a podcast should do it. As well, with documentation, I was talking about the more mathematical documentation about the expressions and formulas you use inside Noble Ape.
Right.
So, besides that, maybe a first approach to the distributed simulation, to a new structure, the so-called event structure. Maybe a preview of the Noble Ape 2, the next generation Noble Ape. I believe that's it.
Many thanks to Pedro and Mridul for enabling themselves to be interviewed at relatively short notice. Pedro was being recorded at 1 a.m. his time, so whilst it was Sunday afternoon for Mridul and I, it was 1 a.m. in Portugal where Pedro is. If you have any questions that you would like to put to myself or Pedro or Mridul, or any kind of musings or philosophical discussions you would like to see covered in these podcasts, please email me, tom@nobleape.com. Thank you very much for tuning into this podcast. Look forward to you tuning into the next podcast.